Your brain is running out of fuel right now, and the supplement sitting in every gym bag on the planet is the one thing that could fix it, but almost nobody is taking it for the right reason. Most people know creatine as a muscle supplement, something you mix into a shaker bottle before the gym, something that makes your bench press go up and your muscles look fuller. And yes, it does that. The research on creatine and athletic performance is some of the most consistent in all of sports science, but that is not what this video is about. Because while the fitness industry was busy marketing creatine as a muscle builder, neuroscientists quietly discovered something that changes the entire story. Your brain uses creatine too. And the way it uses it, the reason it needs it, explains something that millions of people experience every single day and have no explanation for. The brain fog, the afternoon crashes, the feeling that your thoughts are moving through something thick and slow, the moments where you sit down to do focused work and your mind simply refuses to cooperate. That might not be laziness, it might not be stress. It might be your brain running low on something it desperately needs to function. So let's talk about what creatine actually does. Inside your skull, your brain is the most energy-hungry organ in your body. It accounts for roughly 2% of your body weight, but it consumes approximately 20% of your total daily energy. Every thought, every decision, every moment of focus requires a constant and uninterrupted supply of a molecule called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That is the universal currency of cellular energy. And your brain burns through it at a rate that would exhaust most other tissues in seconds. Here's where creatine becomes critical. Your body stores creatine in the form of phosphocreatine, a high-energy compound that acts as a rapid backup battery. When your brain cells start running low on ATP during intense cognitive work, phosphocreatine immediately donates a phosphate group to rebuild it. Instantly, no delay, no waiting for glucose metabolism to catch up. Without enough creatine in your brain, that backup system is weaker. Your brain cells run closer to empty. And when your neurons are running close to empty, the cognitive experience is exactly what you would expect. Slower thinking, harder concentration, greater mental fatigue from tasks that used to feel manageable. Now here's the part that most people, even people who take creatine daily, have never heard. Researchers have been able to directly measure creatine levels inside the living human brain using a technique called proton magnetic resonance spectroscopy. And what those scans show is remarkable. When people take creatine supplements over several weeks, measurable increases in brain creatine content have been observed, not just in the muscles, inside the brain itself. The same backup energy system that creatine builds in your biceps is being built inside your prefrontal cortex, the prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for focus, planning, decision-making, and impulse control. The exact cognitive functions that feel most vulnerable when you're mentally fatigued. And researchers didn't stop at just measuring brain creatine levels. They tested what happens to actual cognitive performance. A 2024 study published in Scientific Reports gave participants a single high dose of creatine during sleep deprivation, one of the most brutal states of brain energy stress you can create in a laboratory. Participants who received creatine performed significantly better on cognitive tests than those who didn't, not because creatine woke them up like caffeine would, but because it gave their depleted brain cells the energy reserves to keep firing when those reserves were critically low. Think about what that means. Sleep deprivation is essentially an extreme version of something millions of people experience in a milder form every single day. Cognitive stress, mental overload, a brain that is burning through energy faster than it can replenish it, and creatine appears to be a buffer against exactly that state. But here's where the science gets genuinely surprising. And I need you to stay with me here because this part changes how you think about everything. The benefit of creatine for the brain is not equal for everyone. Research has consistently shown that the cognitive effects of creatine supplementation are most pronounced in people whose brains are already running low. And the group that shows the most dramatic response in study after study is one that almost nobody expects: vegetarians. A landmark study by Ray and colleagues tested 45 young adults, both vegetarians and omnivores, on a range of cognitive tasks before and after creatine supplementation. In vegetarians, creatine supplementation produced significantly better memory performance. The omnivores showed much weaker effects. Why? Because creatine is found almost exclusively in animal products. Meat, fish, animal tissue. A vegetarian who eats no meat is consuming essentially zero dietary creatine. And while the brain can produce some creatine on its own, that endogenous production may not be sufficient under cognitive stress, the exact conditions where creatine matters most. This means there is an entire population of people, hundreds of millions of vegetarians and vegans worldwide, who may be walking around with chronically underfueled brains, experiencing cognitive symptoms they have no explanation for, and have never once been told that a 5-gram scoop of white powder might change that. If what you're hearing right now is making you see creatine completely differently, hit the subscribe button and leave a comment below. I want to know if you take creatine for your brain or just for the gym, because based on what I'm about to tell you, your answer might change. But the vegetarian finding is only part of the story, because the other group that shows dramatic cognitive benefits from creatine is older adults. As the brain ages, its ability to maintain efficient energy metabolism declines. Creatine kinase activity, the enzyme that powers the phosphocreatine system, decreases with age, which means the backup battery in your neurons gets weaker every decade. And a weaker backup battery means less cognitive resilience. less ability to sustain focus, more mental fatigue from tasks that once felt effortless. A systematic review published in 2024 examining creatine supplementation across multiple studies found consistent evidence that older adults show meaningful cognitive improvements with creatine, particularly in tasks involving memory and processing speed, the exact cognitive domains that people notice declining first as they age. Now I want to tell you about something that almost nobody connects to creatine, and it might be the most significant finding in this entire space. Depression. Researchers studying brain energy metabolism have found something deeply interesting. People with major depressive disorder show abnormal energy metabolism in the brain, specifically disruptions in the systems that produce, store, and use ATP, the same systems that creatine supports. A study published in Translational Psychiatry analyzed data from over 22,000 adults and found a clear association. Lower dietary creatine intake was significantly associated with higher rates of depression, especially in women, especially in people who ate little or no meat. This is not a claim that creatine cures depression. The research is still early, but the biological logic is compelling and consistent. A brain that cannot efficiently produce energy is a brain under stress, and a brain under chronic metabolic stress is a brain that struggles to regulate mood, motivation, and emotional resilience. Some clinical trials have already started testing creatine as an adjunctive treatment alongside antidepressants, specifically in treatment-resistant cases where conventional medication has failed. The early results are promising enough that this is now an active area of psychiatric research. Think about that for a moment. The supplement that bodybuilders have been scooping into their protein shakes for 30 years may turn out to be one of the most important tools for brain health we have ever studied, and the fitness industry has been marketing the wrong benefit the entire time. So what does this mean for you practically? Here's what the research currently supports. 5 grams of creatine monohydrate per day is the standard dose used across most cognitive research. Unlike muscle creatine, which saturates relatively quickly, brain creatine takes longer to increase. Most studies measuring changes in brain creatine content require a minimum of several weeks of consistent supplementation. This is not a supplement you take once before an exam and feel the difference. It is a supplement that builds a larger energy reserve in your neurons over time. The effects are also most significant when your brain is under stress. Sleep deprivation, mental fatigue, aging, low dietary creatine from avoiding meat. These are the conditions where creatine shifts from mildly interesting to potentially transformative. And here's the thing that nobody in the supplement industry is saying clearly enough. Creatine monohydrate is one of the safest, best researched, most affordable supplements on the planet. It has been studied in thousands of human trials. The side effect profile is remarkably clean, and yet the conversation around it has been almost entirely about muscle size and gym performance for 3 decades. Your brain uses creatine, your brain stores it, your brain depletes it under cognitive stress. And when those stores run low, the experience is not subtle. It is the fog, the friction, the feeling that thinking has become effortful in a way it did not used to be. The gym found creatine first, but the brain may need it more. Have you ever taken creatine and noticed something shift beyond the gym? Because the research suggests that if you did, you were not imagining it. Let me know in the comments down below and subscribe.